Hello and welcome back. Here we are getting ready to move in to day 3 of the Thunder Cup prelims, and of course this is the Group A teams going at it. My name is DK, and with me of course is the lovely Highland Wolf. How are you doing today?
I'm doing brilliant today. We get to see 4 action-packed games of all of these 16 teams back on board for the Thunder Cup qualifiers. And of course, this is the do-or-die day, though, DK, because only the top 7 of these teams can move through at the end of these 4 matches to the Thunder Cup Grand Finals.
It's going to be pretty exciting to see which teams would be the teams to move on through and of course get themselves into that slot to fight it out in those finals. But of course, we've been seeing quite a bit of changes coming in on the leaderboard right off of yesterday's games. I mean, coming into yesterday, at the start of the day, we had the players there from Team VPE, of course, sitting right up at the top of the leaderboard. After yesterday's matches, coming into today, as we already saw on that leaderboard, things have already started to change. They've got moved down out of their position we had them in.
Yeah, only 17 points coming through for VPE from yesterday's games, knocking them down to that 4th spot overall. It was actually ITBF who, with the most placement points actually so far at 67, who were able to boost themselves up, now sat at a total of 111 points in 1st position. But the biggest surprise comes actually from 21 Esports, DK, who was originally sat at 9th position after day 1 with only 22 points, but after day 2, they're now sat inside the top 3 with 93.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite a bit of a jump coming in off of the back of that. So quite excited to see what the teams are going to be doing in these games here today. And of course, you know, we're going to have a few teams, as you've said already, make it through into that final stage. Right now, it's going to be pretty tough to see who will be the teams to make it through into that. Now, with the flight path that we have coming in up in the northwestern side, I mean, it's going to be pretty interesting for these teams, looking where they now have to try and adjust their drop locations with the zone and flight path so up high in the north.
Well, when it comes to, of course, that flame path being so high up, yes, it's going to affect some of these teams, but I actually think based on where these teams do like to drop, it is fairly kind to these players in a nutshell, because obviously we do look back to the previous games that we have been playing on Erangel, and actually a lot of them do drop on this northern side, and particularly even those who wish to drop around Georgetown Hospital, they could still do just that. But it is actually a change, of course, coming out from some of these squads going into the final day, most notably because of that flame path. Actually, 4 Angry Men going to be dropping over in Yasna Poliana, but this time also along with Blind. So some compounds that were previously untouched going to now be contested, and even more so I expect going later into this game because of course, that first phase zone already going so high up north.
And it's going to be a very interesting zone to see what the players are going to do with this one. I mean, we don't often see a zone that far up north. I mean, it's centered up almost on towards Severny. Now, that is quite a bit of an aggressive shift. So it's going to be a challenging time for the teams to find a good position up in that zone. So I'm curious to see how they're going to go through their loot phases, and of course, where they're going to try and rotate up into once they are done with the looting phase.
Definitely a lot of priority, I would say, going towards even places untouched, such as Georgia Pole around Hospital. When you know about that bridge, particularly coming off of the eastern end of North Georgia Pole, very, very contested, I would imagine, just coming out of especially Everest and Ruins as well. A lot of those teams going to use that wide flank to get into the Northern Island if it does continue to shift in that direction. But because it is only phase 1, don't expect teams to be rotating too early just yet. Maybe Team GS do decide to go for those locations like George Pole in anticipation of that zone heading up north, but for the majority, these teams will still be looting up, and they'll still be, of course, fighting on this south end. As you can see, unfortunately, therefore, Blind already losing 1 to 4 Angry Men, and of course, in 4 AM aggression, taking quick, decisive fights.
Yeah, and of course, that is what we've seen. We've seen that aggression come in. The team's not being scared to fight, and that was what I love about this, is just the level of confidence coming in here, the swift movements, and of course, also putting a very swift end to any of the opponents that dare challenge them. So I'm curious to see, though, just where the team's going to move as these phases keep on progressing. And, 4 Angry Men just up ahead here. We did see quite a bit of gameplay coming in from them. But, of course, yesterday not being, well, in general, in total, they're not having the best stages yet. I mean, only sitting on 31 points, only being able to find 19 kills. So do you think we're going to be seeing a lot more kills come in for 4 Angry Men today? Or will this be the game where we see the players there from blind, of course, now just moving even further up ahead?
See, this is a problem, though, right? When you look at 4 Angry Men, yes, they take these early games very well. I think they're one of the best teams actually in this lobby for early game team fighting. They do it very decisively. They do it very clean when it comes to the execution. However, it's always when it comes to those later stages and mid to late game, the 4 Angry Men really do fall off a cliff. I think that extended team fighting prowess is just not there at all at the same level when it comes to those quick 15-20 second fights that we all know them for. And I think that is 4 Angry Men's style overall, those quick aggressive fights. And they do have the right ideas also when it comes to those team fights. They go for the flanks often more than not. However, it is because of the high tier of this lobby that teams also are anticipating it. They're able to shut 4 AM down.
Well, that does say a few things, but of course now as we look back up in towards the zone, just having a quick gander at where the teams are all situated, and if we are seeing any major rotations come in off the back of that looting phase. And of course, well, the team's not rotating up just yet. We do have a little bit of time still remaining on the clock before that blue zone starts closing up, but we are seeing the players there, of course, from the ITBF team now starting to make a little bit of a rotation as they too start to push a little bit further in towards that more centralized portion of the zone.
I would actually argue that, yes, having one of those scouts coming through from Starbuck could be a good idea for them. However, I do think that their position is a little bit dangerous right now, especially if we do see that second phase zone shift very westerly. I think that it does make a lot of sense to at least get one scout in there to try get some sort of positioning to be able to make that maneuver if it is going to be the case, because this they're going to be particularly congested, as we say, coming out of those bridges of George Pole, out of Roshawk. And as you can see, as the blue zone also shrinks even more, that's why teams are very much congested on this south side of zone, anticipating, as we say, if it goes to that northern side. However, I would actually argue that some of these teams far away from the zone currently, like Oranges, like BURIRAM, they do make a good position for themselves, waiting for the zone and not choosing to be caught up in that condition where you usually find yourself early on caught in a bad place in between a lot of teams.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this fight is going to be going. But now looking over towards ITBF, right? So they have another player starting to move in. Myth, of course, just up on the hill, looking to push a little bit up. I mean, Myth currently sitting over on the leaderboard, as we could see, before we jumped into the match. Myth, of course, currently sitting on 11th place. So they're definitely going to be looking to find any possible engagements they can if they want to see themselves move up into the teams to qualify. Because ITBF, I mean, they're just leading the pack at the moment.
ITBF, indeed, of course, keep in mind they are, of course, leading, as you say, with 111 points. But also, I think the stability coming through from a lot of those teams down on still the top 7, I would actually argue, is Secret, Orange, and Indian Tigers, all still maintaining that 5th, 6th, 7th position, 74, 73, 70 points respectively. And I think that if they can maintain our stability, we do look to see them heading through into the grand finals. However, it is very much more tighter down towards those 6th, 7th, 8th positions on terms of points overall. Keep in mind, ANGKOR just heading now up behind in 8th position into the day with 61 points. Even SKYLIGHT's behind them with 59. Blind in 10th with 53. There's only about 1 game's worth of points difference in these teams, and that is why every game will matter so much. In particular, for, as we say, those teams who don't have a solid place like ITBF do.
Yeah, I mean, Speaking about teams, though, I mean, we've seen quite a bit of an improvement just in the results for the players there. Of course, from 21 Esports, they came in on day one, day two, sitting on 22 points, up in 9th place. Today they come in sitting up in 3rd place on 93. So really quite a bit of a jump coming in on towards them as we now look onto E29, who's paying close attention to those movements coming in from 21 Esports.
Keep in mind, even over on Stalber, we've got Myth and ANGKOR as well, going to be heading up right on the tip top of that mountain, heading up for that high ground position overall. But it is 4 a.m. nevertheless to strike once again on to the side of SKYLIGHTZ Gaming. Once again on Severny, not finding any of them this time around. It is 4 a.m. once again on However, there is a flank through from Pinky, so they could actually try to find something. Jersey as well is overlooking the fight, but Pinky is isolated, so actually overall, as 4 Angry Men do rushes, if Pinky cannot find these knocks, 4 Angry Men definitely do look a lot stronger. However, dodging round the roof, buying time for the rest of his team, rightly so, to allow them to reposition, allow his revive to come through, and reset in this fight as best as they can.
Well, it is going to be a pretty spicy engagement to see, of course, what they're going to be doing and whether or not 4 Angry Men will be able to pick up that momentum and keep on pushing. It is going to be a pretty spicy engagement, of course. As you said, SKYLIGHT's right here alongside them. This is where things get interesting to see how the teams handle themselves in this first map, and of course, just how much momentum they can get themselves set up for the rest of the day.
Still though, 4 Angry Men, they do take a lot of damage onto Shamin, so they do have to back off for now. They have to get a healing back through. They did try to go for the push, but it is this off angle from Slayer and Sudoku BJ that is actually so strong for SKYLIGHTZ, and this is what's really stopping them. You see Tao trying to position some way to try contest against this, but the smokes are the only thing really protecting them for now, and as these smokes do dissipate, it puts actually 4 Angry Men in a lot of danger. You can see even the grenades being thrown over, including, of course, Team Secret also facing up against their own fights, as well as, I think, also FS and E365 on their own. And this is where the congestion really does start, because keep in mind, this zone has shifted far towards that northern side, and there is only about 50-60% of this zone actually usable for these teams.
I mean, so much potential for these third parties to come on through as 4 Angry Men now get circled, get flanked there by Jersey, who quickly rotated around looking for that off angle, and now really applying the pressure as we can see the shots just finding their way on through. And that is a beautiful rotation now, a beautiful show of aggression coming in there from the side, of course, of the SKYLIGHTZ Gaming team.
Still SKYLIGHTZ on the other left. You lose a play that Lucidukin and of course Slayer will be able to clean it up though. However, 4 Angry Men just not old often. A beautiful turnout, I think, from SKYLIGHTZ Gaming, being able to buy time. Pinky really the MVP of that fight overall, but they're still not done yet, because as that fight does clean up, it has taken so long that now the positions around them have been contested and have been taken up. So actually SKYLIGHTZ, because that fight did take longer, yes, they survived, but they don't really have anywhere to move now. Yes, they could have actually looked towards heading back through to Severny with this zone, but that option no longer case, as even teams are congesting over that around the hills.
Well, we'll see, of course, what the teams are going to be doing. And this zone is just going to get hotter and hotter as we see a little bit of potential now, potential action coming in there from FS as they're moving a little bit closer towards E365, just moving into that southern position. I'm curious to see, of course, what the team here from E365 is going to be doing with the potential threat coming in from the south.
E365, they are waiting, of course, longer to go for this zone. Yes, they get the zone, but at what cost when these teams now look to rush onto them? You take a strong spot, you taking a city when it comes to the later game stage preemptively. It does actually to be gate kept, it does cause you to be surrounded by multiple teams, and this is why you do see them already moving around to try reposition inside the shooting range. But with shooting range inside the zone, it does actually create a lot of tricky positions for these teams because of how open shooting range is around that square. And around this square specifically, yes, you even have underground, but underground is also something teams not willing to have to use unless they are forced to, because it can buy you placement points. However, teams will inevitably gatekeep those entrances.
Of course, now speaking about teams looking to potentially gatekeep, we see the players here now, of course, from TAKAE coming in off of that western side, just outside of shooting range. Of course, now we've got Hater looking to potentially find the angles up onto the side there of Eagle 365. It is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but he now at least has that support. The whole team just really sitting here looking to see if they can find those entry points, and it is going to be quite a bit of a challenge here.
Yeah, we need to see some more with ANGKOR stat in that bottom position, but it is death only coming through from the hands of E29. But for now, a beautiful double knock straight in. That's going to be a triple already coming through, finally shut down by the final E29 member, but it was close. They almost had it. Indian Tigers, they're looking, but they can't quite get it. And it will be a save. Lycan coming up so clutch. There could have been a disaster.
Yeah, that was a really impressive play. Beautiful defensive shots coming in right there. And of course, you know, E29 just holding on to that. But now as we move up on to the players here from EVOS, you can see them keeping a watchful eye. E29 now just up ahead of them, just trying to recover from that engagement. It has been quite a bit of a fight, but now also EVOS, they're feeling a little bit of pressure. They've got a team positioned right up to the north of the angle. So it is yet again going to be a very interesting engagement.
Still, when you think about Savoni, I think also ITBF as security course coming through into the zone. Yes, they do have to be aware that they have to move at some point because the zone is moving in now to phase number 4. And depending on where it goes, I would actually argue that E365, they still hold a strong position. They shouldn't enter in the shelter just yet. They have the potential still to rotate more so than other teams. I think also Oranges, they have an interesting position into the zone, especially now that it does shift favorably towards them, because they can come in around those ridge lines underneath the hill just below Skylights, and they can actually sneak their way into the center of the zone. They can sneak their way into a team fight when these teams, of course, do set up as a third party.
Yeah, and of course, this is the point where we're going to see a lot of that contention coming in. Everyone is looking for a spot in that zone. Everyone is looking to find a good setup and, of course, trying to solidify their position in this next phase. So definitely going to be looking to see where the teams are going to be rotating up for the current time. The players here from FS, they seem to be fairly okay in the angle on the southern edge. And of course, the players there from E29 just up ahead of them also sitting, or sorry, that is EVOS sitting quite comfortably. But now we look to see exactly, you know, what the players here, of course, from Team Secret are going to be doing up on this western side of the zone. As we got shots now being hit by a few shots that come through from the side there, of course, of the players from SKYLIGHT Gaming.
Very important fight through for VPE to be able to take this on to Team Secret. If they do find, especially keep in mind that off angle from Stone taking down shots initially. However, it is this spread, it comes through strong. It is also Redder who's able to find one grenade in, but almost able to flush out the grenade. The second one not going to land, and the third one also should be going over their heads. However, VPE, they are caught in a tricky position, even if Flukev not really able to come as a good support. That really actually blocking more so than helping their position when it comes to actually taking out these flanking members like Jumper.
Oh, it is going to be a pretty tough fight for all 15 teams left in this lobby to try and find that position. Of course, now players here from Team Secret coming in with that rotation around the southern edge, looking to find a good entry point, and of course now looking to set themselves up also just on the edge of that zone. Of course, now as we can see, so many teams spread out up ahead, and of course the fights coming in once again now from E29 as they look to take the engagement here with the players from Orange.
But unfortunately, E29 are already down 2 players, and Oranges, this is what we said. They're players who are able to come up as this third party, who are able to have that element and surprise. Mr. Tars has to make 2 revives, but only 1 now. Like him, that star player also already knocked, and here comes the rest of the cavalry DK. It is all but over for E29. But when it also comes to, I think, Team Secret, even on this south side, what impressed me most is they held off from the fight with VPE, and they're now able to also go into fights potentially against EVOS, potentially against FS 1952, because they are the ones overlooking Oranges, but they're not so much looking with their side. As you can see, FS already down, losing Magnet off the backside.
Oh, and here we go. Here we go. A little bit of a rush now starting to come on off the top of that. As we have got the players there from FS now, just looking to make a little bit of a play, looking to push a bit further in as that zone is about to start popping off once again. Now, this southern edge of the zone is so heavily congested, so many players in the vicinity. Things are going to get pretty tough from this point on. But now we look to see exactly what FS will be able to do. Will they be able to hold their own? Well, so many teams in the area, and this is where the fight is just going to get so tough.
What they need to be doing, though, Team Secret, is moving around to gatekeep FS. Look at that zone, DK. It's gone all the way up to that inside, over towards shooting range. A hard shift for these teams to have to now contest, with still 13 of these teams, to be exact, alive in this zone. Already going to continue its shift through at the fastest point of the game. We are at phase number 5 into number 6. EVOS as well, trying to do the same behind FS. And this is a tricky position, but never that, because it is trickier for Team Secret, already losing Jumper and Magnet off the 1v1. That is so important for them, forcing Team Secret back.
Oh, I mean, so many engagements coming off of that. And of course, you can see that kill feed just lighting up as the heads find their way on through. Now, of course, as we hop on over towards the players here from Orange, they're also looking to find their entry into that zone. And so many players just lining up on the edge, making it such a tough entry point. Of course, now we're sitting on 13 remaining teams. 21 now also coming under fire as they too look to push further up in it towards shooting range. But of course, this is where things are just so congested, so crazy. I mean, this is an absolutely insane zone. The amount of players we still have remaining here, this is crazy. I don't know how everyone is going to fit into these next few phases.
This is almost like barrel holes at a Yasnaya Polyana. This is what it is, DK, when it comes to those ridge lines, when it comes to those dips around shooting range, and particularly even BURIRAM using those dips to their advantage, fending off 3 different teams at once. But it is also Team Secret's full next. VPE finding the shots in, finding also Magnet, almost taking down another 2 members afterwards. And it is VPE who could still push this through. However, the edge of zone, and these teams who are on the edge, maybe they do struggle a little bit more than the likes of E365 with that early position, are able to actually set up a nice split with Audrey inside the shooting range compound itself, and the rest of them around shelter, playing the best way they can for these placement points.
Oh man, this is such a crazy zone, and of course those shots just finding their way on through as we see the players here from BURIRAM now also looking to find that position. The shots, of course, coming in from behind. We see ANGKOR Esports just lining the northern edge of that zone, looking to push in. And, of course, now with that zone shift, moving further down in towards the south. That is exactly what we're going to be seeing from the teams, especially the ones positioned in the northern angles. They need to try and push in, and it is going to be a bloody fight to get into that.
When you think about still E365 position, is it actually still able to gatekeep away these teams? They're able to still hold on. However, it is VPE, nevertheless, who are finding these kills alongside them. Also, BURIRAM now spending too long to try get inside, already losing a member, even though it is these solo players like SKYLIGHTZ Gaming and these off-angle teams like ANGKOR, who can still squeeze their way through into this zone. And it is ANGKOR, I think, who have the most surprise factor in this late game stage, or sending Shroud as that initial scout, and Shroud picking up an early kill.
Oh, there we go. That is what we want to see, of course. ANGKOR now applying the pressure, rushing up in from the northern positions. But of course, will they be able to keep that momentum up? They're currently sitting on 5 kills, so pretty good game for them so far. Of course, so many more players for them still to go up against. 7 teams remain. And this is where it's going to be pretty tricky to find that position, find that angle, of course, get themselves set up within the face. Everyone now fighting in and around the shooting ranges. The shots come flying in once again. Oh, as we see the shots now finding their way on through. It is now up to 0 and blue to make that final rush.
But the strongest positioning still coming through, I think, actually now when it comes inside the compound towards TAKAE to gatekeep away the last position team trying to take out one of the top on this leaderboard. And VPE with already 8 kills, even finding more just now. They're looking to get more points in this one game, DK, but they got all through yesterday's 4 games. This is an insane showing from VP overall. However, they do lose Stone. They're down to 2 players, and this is where it does get tricky because TAKAE, as we say, yes, we only had 2 players, but we have the stronger position, and it is this difficulty of VPE getting into the compound when they have no utilities left, when it is only open space inside.
Oh, I mean, this is just going from difficult to even more so. It just keeps on building, of course. Now 6 teams remain to fight it out for that chicken. Of course, the players here from ANGKOR now looking to make a play over on this northern position, still just holding on. Just struggling to find that good entry point, that good setup. But of course, now BURIRAM coming in there from the east, looking to push a little bit further up. 21, of course, holding on to that far southern side. VPE looking pretty strong, as you've mentioned, coming in on 3 players strong. And of course, now TAKAE just up ahead of them, being reduced down to 2. We got the Rezzes coming in. Keen now, quickly just setting up, sending out the smokes. But this is where they now need to look to get back up in towards the zone. As the zone is shifted once again now over on towards that eastern side. But we'll see the players here from VPE continue to push on through, looking to clear out the zone as they progress.
Surely they should be able to find this one, blinding out TAKAE from their vision. Yes, TAKAE find one, though they could find a second.
Oh, what? Slayer gets picked up there, but of course now Keen looking to make another play, as VP is not out of this one just yet. But with that play, of course, now they get ended right there. TAKAE stops the game for them and of course sends them right on into that lobby. Oh, there we go. Few more hits now, finding its way through onto ANGKOR, so we can just see them getting it just absolutely demolished as E365s look to hold on to that compound.
E365 are sending the aggressive Ekuzu scout in. They're looking for TAKAE. They're looking to try and take this game. They've been waiting on the strongest positions all game, and now is their time to strike. They saved the utilities, and it looked like they could take this one. BURIRAM as well, though they are 2 players, but it is TAKAE who are falling.
Wow, that nade from Ekuzu just finding the spot, and of course just causing an absolutely devastating play onto the side there of the players from TAKAE. Now we look to see, of course, whether or not E365 is going to try and close this one up as they start to push in, applying the pressure, and of course picking up TAKAE in the process. Beautifully done. 3 teams now remain left to fight it out for that chicken.
It is BURIRAM who control this zone still, having Kengzo, having online on these off angles, splitting their aggressiveness into that 1-1 split overall, using the 2 members as best they can on these positionings. 21 Esports, so keep in mind they're keeping this momentum up. They're keeping these kills alive. And because, yes, they have these 2 kills, and they're potentially now looking even at what could be a minimum 12, possibly 14-point game, heading above even towards that second position by the end of it, based, of course, how these teams previously have fallen down. But it is E365, the most impressive, who, with a little bit more pushing, they could still find this game. But 21 Esports, they must fall first to do so.
Oh, of course, now this is where it is going to be absolutely essential to find those angles. But online, getting hit as that Nate finds his way on through. Just base now, just sending up a beautifully placed grenade. But KingZo also now looking to make a play just a little bit further up ahead. 21, of course, feeling that pressure as we see the players there from E365 starting to move closer and closer, moving in on a tighter and tighter position. Of course, now out comes the flashbang, and opening the door straight on up for E365 to swoop in and pick up the kill. But of course, here we go now. Just Base getting ahead. Audrey looking to continue up on that one, as there's only one player remaining from BURIRAM, and now they get taken down. E365 pick up the chicken dinner, and doing so with absolute style. 10 kill match. Well done.
No surprise to see E365 with those members. As soon as they take TAKAE down, they have the potential, of course, to take that game. 21 Esports in on stopping them. As soon as they fall, the game is in their hands, as you say. Still a 10-kill game as well going towards them. BURIRAM, though, they do take down as well 5 kills in that second position with their strong position overall in shooting range. And actually 21 Esports as well. Another big showing for them. Even though they get only 2 kills, it's still a 12-point game. And that's much more than can be said from a lot of those other teams on the top of that leaderboard. And ITBF, for example, all the way down in that 11th position.
Yeah, it has been an absolutely tough start here to the day. But of course, next up, we are going to be heading over on towards Miramar, just to change things up once again, to see what the teams will bring as we move up into those lovely sandy, dusty dunes on the Miramar map. So of course, we're going to be heading into a quick break while we're getting prepped and ready to roll. Of course, we'll be back with you after a short break, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. Here we are getting ready to move in to our second match of the day. Of course, heading right over on towards the sandy dunes here of Miramar. And of course, well, Wolf, it has been a pretty tough start on that first initial match. But of course, now we look to see what is going to happen in the second one. Will we see a repeat of yesterday's second match where we had the players, of course, from the SKYLIGHTZ gaming team coming in and clutching away the chicken dinner with a 12-kill game?
Well, indeed, it was E365, of course, as you say, who were able to get that chicken dinner off the first match, but also BURIRAM and ANGKOR getting that second and third position overall. And ANGKOR, we said they were slipping their way up towards that top 7, and they are sliding into that top 7 position with that big win, as we say, over teams, I think, even including Secret, who finished actually in a 13th position, despite the fact that they made it to that later game stage. It was very much decided for all of these teams on those final few zones, and these big shifts in points are what could actually change the tables when you see a team like Team Secret then move down, have to fight their way back up now on Miramar to make sure that they have the opportunity to stay inside this contention at the top 7.
Well, definitely going to be quite a bit of a challenge as we see that flight path now coming in from over towards Puerto Pareso and heading up in towards the trailer park there, also in the direction of Ruins. So fairly decent flight path that we got here. I mean, it is moving up pretty nicely, taking a fairly decent approach across the map. But now, of course, we look to see whether or not the teams are going to drop down in their usual positions, and of course also where that zone is going to be going, because this is a very nice flight path.
When it comes to this flight path overall, yes, you think about teams once again dropping down for Angry Men, potentially teams around Puerto Presa, Impala, but also teams going to be dropping like BURIRAM, of course, in their usual spots on El Pozo, and again, also Happy End of the Patron could also very much be contested. But we do already see once again changes with that plane path. For example, E365 no longer going around our power grid towards Happy End of the Patron 4-man split. Instead, they will go down towards the South Island side, and they're going to try go for a more heavy, closer together split, but against E29 as well. No surprise, however, once again, as we say, to see Happy End of the Patron highly contested, still inside the zone, when that zone, of course, does go towards that eastern side.
Well, and what a shift, in fact, that is, of course, nice position we see over on that eastern end. But, of course, now we look to see what is going to happen. And we've got quite a few teams already positioned well within that zone. But now Blind taking a really wide drop, dropping all the way at the end of that flight path.
And that's great, I think, heads up play from Blind to play for this zone and play for where teams do drop. It is also actually surprising to see ITBF, the first team so far in the tournament, but do decide to drop a Copperia. And had actually ITBF not gone to La Copperia, this would have actually been a lot easier of a rotation in for Blind. They could have just rotated straight through that compound and in past Cruz de Val towards the north, or even as a heart towards the northeastern side of this zone. However, because the fact that ITBF are there, they're going to have to wait or play against ITBF in a fight early on. So it does make their position just that much more difficult.
Well, it is definitely going to be interesting to see, of course, how this is going to unfold. As we now currently looking over towards the players here from Team Secret, looking to see if they can bring in a strong performance and, of course, push through with that straight to the end, all the way up on it to that final zone. But, of course, as we look up in towards the zone, the team's still pretty much stationary where they've dropped down. Everyone going through the looting phase, they all seem to be fairly satisfied with their initial positions. But of course, now jumping over towards the players here from Myth, they also just a little bit further up north. A slight tad bit.
But when it comes is up on the north side, DK. It is these teams like Myth who do have to be wary of their positioning going into zone because there are these other teams who will be in northern side. So yes, it's I think a good idea to stay around water treatment for now, but a lot better position would be them actually making again, like we said for blind, like we said potentially for ITBF, to make that wider rotation over actually to the hills just south of Al Azhar. You can even then potentially make your way along the coastal line a lot easier than these teams who are further out. And because you do have that closer position to these hotspots, it does make it more favorable for Myth to then be able to take the gatekeep against these teams outside the zone if they do decide eventually to go for that early game power spike.
Oh, it is going to be quite interesting to see how the teams move on. But of course, now looking back at that zone, right? We've got the players from Blind positioned all the way over on that far western side. We've got the players there, of course, from the ITBF position up and towards La Cobreria. We have the team also then from SKYLIGHTZ Gaming sitting right up towards Torre Ahumada, right up in the far northern reaches. So definitely going to be looking to see how the teams on the outlying regions are going to try and rotate up in towards the zone. But now, as we jump a little bit further down towards the south, E29 right here on the southern end, going through the looting phase, we of course do have a little bit of company up ahead of them, but this is of course still the early phases. The map is still pretty big. There's still quite a bit of space for the teams to move in and around of. But where do you think is going to be the centering point? Looking at, for instance, the players there from E365, who we see just a little bit further down south.
And yes, E365 are an important team, I think, to note because of the fact that they have gone for such an interesting split. And I think it doesn't so much work out for them because they are so close together. Of course, you would have liked them to go for a much wider split like you would have seen them do around Power Grid, around towards Happy End of the Patron in yesterday's games. Because they're so close together and because they're so close to all of these other teams coming into the South End, it does make it a little bit trickier for them to be able to enter in. However, with maybe some wider rotations around towards Minister Val, playing around on tanking the blue zone just a little bit, they could still find themselves in a fairly good looting phase. They could still find themselves with a good opportunity into zone. I think going straight in from the south side, though, is a little bit risky because not only do we have TAKAE, but also their oranges heading up towards Los Leones. So Los Leones is inevitably going to be a contested compound, especially if this phase 2 does centralize up towards the south side. As well, I think I would argue actually a strong position coming through from VPE with their split once again, taking that player of Lukiv down towards La Bendita and towards Minas Generales, DK. That actually is a great position for information. And for VPE to actually be able to overall have a good powerful amount of information going into that south side overall, as we say, if it does shift that way.
Well, it is going to be quite the rotation for some of the teams here to make it. And of course, going to be looking still to see where they're going to choose to pull up into. I mean, we see a little bit of congestion coming into that centralized portion of the zone, right? We got the players from 4 Angry Men, we got VPE, we got 21, as well as the players from Orange, all situated in that more centralized angle. But now we look to see also the back down into the south here as E365 just making their way on through, of course, passing right past some of their opponents as they continue to push in. And TAKAE definitely looking to pick up some damage, pick up some of the kills in the process here.
TAKAE coming off of what is one of their best games so far in the tournament. TAKAE, of course, they didn't actually, I believe, gain any points when it came to overall. Yes, they sat with 0 points coming into the final day. Yes, they're not going to be without a move into congestion of that top 7 position, but we can still upset teams by being in this lobby. You can already see E365, a team who were also trying to make their way in. The Eagles, unfortunately, just not quite able to have more success today. Fortunately, we do have to try trade this 1-for-1. Yes, you do find it. Audrey will be able to help take down Hades. With Hades going down, that does open a little bit more of a position, but here come also the cavalry from TAKAE from the downside, even smoking up preemptively up above, so that does create a little bit of a loss of vision, and Audrey, overall, I think, going to be one of the more important members for E365 to take this fight and to stop actually the rest of these members getting caught off on this peninsula.
Oh, it is going to be a really tricky play. And of course, I think it is pretty safe to say that Audrey is now a solo player. The rest of the squad, of course, getting caught behind, getting caught up in those engagements. And of course, now those confirms are going to find their way on through as the team here from E365 gets reduced down to 1. But we're still looking to see where the next phase is going to be going. The blue zone is closing on up, and so far, it has been proving to be quite a challenging match so far for some of these teams.
Indeed, and with Impala not even used, I definitely think Impala has a lot more priority with these teams going into this second phase, including those hills where actually FS 1952 lie. And where FS do actually lie, I think is very good overall, because they can still, as a result, yes, have information, but also be able to then at this point be able to pick off players heading their way. And teams like EVOS, because of how tricky it is to navigate around these crossroads and how flat actually the terrain really is heading around here. Only a few ridge lines, only a few buildings scattered around the desert to be able to protect these teams. Behind EVOS, yes, there is more cover, but even heading there is the likes of VPE now entering in.
And I mean, of course, we see... here we go. The 4 angry men now just come rushing up onto the side of the building as we see Trace finding that first hit in up towards KF. But now we're looking to see, of course, what Microby Redface will be doing with this position. They're looking to try and fortify it as best they can. But with the addition of 4 angry men onto this compound, it is going to be an exceptionally difficult challenge for them. And it's going to be so hard to push up, but they are going to try and push in. Already a 3-man team, a little slight bit of a disadvantage coming in with regards to the numbers. But of course, now you don't need numbers when you can find those off angles, and Redface just stepping straight up into the limelight. They're picking up 3 kills so far. Now they're looking to find that last one up in towards Tau.
But still, Tau, yes, this is what we talked about here, DK. The fight's going on longer. They weren't able to find the initial flush through, and it is EVOS who come up on top surely once again. All members going to enter in. The mollies were used already. There's no defense left. Find one. Yes, they almost find a second, but 4 angry men once again down in the last position, and they are going to be punished so hard today with still another little to no point game.
Wow, that was just absolutely insane. So brutal. Nice show of aggression, but of course, looking at the map, looking at where that zone had gone, right? We're seeing all the teams now starting to make their way on in, but of course, there's a quick bit of an engagement coming in here on the ITBF team, as we can see, of course. Bat now just getting sent right back into the lobby, of course, getting picked up, but almost instantly in that. But now we wait to see where the next phase is going to be taking us. Firstly, it's centered up over towards that far eastern side. And of course, it seems like it is continuing on that trend.
Yeah, of course, when it does shift over towards that eastern side, still, we say Impala is so strong when it comes to the position. Even, of course, yeah, La Bandita will still be a power position inside his zone. And that is why I think 21 Esports have hooked this one up alongside E29 just outside of it. But E29, I think they are one of these teams in the center of the zone, but actually have a little bit of a tricky position to go between because they have the road ahead of them. They have nowhere really to go anymore. And this is where we talk about resettable positions overall, because E29, they've got themselves a little bit of a pinch where they can't actually reset anywhere. They can't be able to go anywhere because of around these teams there are so many players around them. And I think also when you do look towards the south side, a much more stronger position, as we say, coming through from FS. But also I think Oranges coming out of Los Leones, because they were able to escape through the city unscathed, it does actually put them in a good position with their split overall to try find a few picks, maybe take down Audrey, of course, as a solo player, not really proving too much threat, which of course does actually mean that Oranges, they have a way in.
Yeah, they definitely do have a way on in, as we can see. Sansa now just pushing up, looking for that position, of course, not just exploring as they push through. And of course, heading up onto that western side. I mean, this could be a good potential position to set up a bit of a gatekeep right here on the edge, waiting to see how many teams could be trying to rotate on through that Los Leones region.
And especially around there, even SKYLIGHT, BURIRAM already going around that coastal line. Even their ANGKOR as well, heading towards the edge outside of Impala, edging towards those 3 buildings, edging on the coastal line itself. But also their Myth still chasing down teams, chasing down VPE now. But as we say, this open land zone is still very tricky to navigate, because once you find yourself in a position with vehicles ready, there's nowhere really to go from there. And this is why Miramar does get so tough in these later stages, because of how difficult it is to continue to move on a zone that continually hard shifts against you.
Oh, and I mean, not only is the zone hard shifting, but I mean, this whole region is just so jam-packed, because still have 16 teams remaining. And we are in this third phase, about to move up in towards the fourth, and things are looking absolutely crazy. You can see the kill feed now starting to line up once again, as 21 is applying the pressure onto the side of the Indian Tigers, of course, now causing quite a bit of damage, but not being able to send them back just yet. So there is still hope for the Indian Tiger team. But now we see the players here from VPE looking to secure their position. Also, the players here from Myth just caught in that engagement off of the edge of Impala. So quite a bit of aggression now coming in right across the board. Of course, now Megamind getting knocked right on out as the hits find their way straight up and towards him. EVOS looking to make a bit of a play, just positioned over towards that western side. But here we go. The pressure now starting to mount as the teams are taking the fights, taking the engagements, and of course looking to get those confirms in.
It's very important for the side of Myth that they keep control of Impala, especially now as that zone shift, because this is why you need to keep the control. If you start to get knocked, if you start to struggle for your position, teams will rush you, as we said. There's really so many of these players looking to try find a position inside this city by now in this later game stage. BURIRAM heading in there. You even have the side of Blind heading in there. You have ITBF heading in there. VPE as well, alongside EVOS, as we already said, looking over them. So even, yes, Blind taking down one of the ITBF members, it is still a Myth who have only now just rejoined up, do not have the strongest setup position as a 4-man squad in the side of the compound itself.
And it is going to be quite a bit of a challenge to fight it out in towards the zone, as we can see absolute chaos just erupting across the board as everyone, VPE, all the teams just going at it. Of course, now VPE looking to apply their herd onto the side there of the players, of course, from Team Secret. Now we can see just up ahead of them, EVOS taking up that position within the compound. But this is such an absolutely heavily packed zone. I mean, just moving a little bit too far could cost the team the game.
But when he talks about moving too far, even, of course, their side of ITBF getting knocked down by, of course, no other than the Myth heading into Impala. So another big upset from that #1 team starting out today. A bad result once again showing up for them. Just not able to quite define their position in the zone, quite find their groove. But because they, of course, had that 111 points going, not too scary for them. They still have plenty of opportunity with a 41-point lead hanging in today on that 7th position team. However, it is still VPE, as you said, who haven't moved. And this is why it concerns me, because yes, you can still gatekeep behind you. It is actually very thankful for them that ANGKOR and TAKAE are reducing each other's members, allowing VPE a much easier time to third party this than had actually TAKAE or ANGKOR gone for a wider flank and then instead tried to fight VPE when they are on this 2-1-1 split. And really, I think for the side of Stops and Stoned, not really able to help so much if the side of Swept and Fluke gets knocked.
Oh, but I mean, TAKAE now feeling that pressure, just coming on in as they see we can see the players, of course, on the map coming in on that mini screen. But now as we see also FS coming under the pressure, the shots flying in, they are getting pushed in the combat, of course. Now quickly just managing to put the shots up onto the side there, and of course the players from Orange get sent back into the lobby. IFS now sitting on 2 kills. Now jumping back onto TAKAE. I mean, this whole southern section is still looking very, very tough. But of course, 13 teams remain. I wouldn't be expecting anything else.
When it comes to this tier of teams, as we said at the start of the day, no less is expected. But the best from these teams is E365, also trying to upset. They did find Magnet before they go down, so it is able to find one more pick to try upset between FS and their way inside the zone. TAKAE, as you said, still positioning rightly so, and I think TAKAE coming into today been an entirely different team. What had, of course, been a very good overall position for them, considering their previous 8 matches results in the first game today, and now upsetting one team already, now heading in towards the next. Yes, they are the furthest ahead of the zone, but they do have the ridgeline, they do have the dips to protect them. It is now if they have the smokes to be able to mount their position on top of this hill.
Oh, here we go. Zero now looking to put the shots in, of course, getting that knock into the side of TAKAE, finding they head straight on through, and of course, Crash now getting knocked out. Now we look to see, of course, whether or not Zero will be able to continue, as we've got a Hades just up ahead. The shots following through, finding a bit of damage. But fortunately, Hades managing to just duck in behind that hard cover. But of course, now the players here from ANGKOR now getting ready to push even further back up in towards the zone, looking to push and apply the potential pressure. But they're also looking for that position. I mean, the zone has shifted up a little bit further up in towards the north, and it's still such a fight to find that positional play.
Let me tell you something about positional play there. Fox from 21 Esports able to skirt their way around in the buggy between 6 different teams, did not get, now has the position inside the zone for their squad. Beautiful stuff coming through from them. Unfortunately, though, for the side of VPE, they are continually losing members. They did not go for these risky plays, and it is but high risk, high reward plays that will pay off for these teams that choose to go for them.
Wow, this is just such a brutal shift we have coming in here off of the zone. I mean, the players here from ANGKOR now just barely squeezing on in. But of course, we see so many teams just so beautifully set up. Myth being one of the teams, just pushed up in Impala, taking up occupation of a beautiful high ground advantage. But of course, here comes BURIRAM sending the nades on in. And of course, with that, ending it right there for the players from ANGKOR. But now as we jump up on towards EVOS, they're looking to make a play on this far western side of the zone, as the damage is finding their way through. And of course, VPE right here alongside them. Could we potentially see them move in and pick up the squad wipe? And it's going to be so close. Of course, it is a very likely option, but here we go. KF now just rushing on in, looking to get the jump shot. Oh, down they go. VPE get eliminated off of the back of Red Face.
Still, EVOS, they need to continue their way in, and as you can see, Red Face just getting smacked down, sent back by that blue zone. And of course, their BURIRAM as well, having to hold on when it comes to his zone shifting away from them. 0 players inside this phase 5 zone, and the fact that we have seen such a hard amount of players drop before now we are even in this phase, it is very scary for these teams, particularly now E29 using that open end of the zone to be able to secure their position. In E29 able to potentially gatekeep all of these teams away and steal this game for themselves, all off the back of their positioning play.
Wow, and here we go now. BURIRAM applying that aggression up into the compound. And of course, you know, it is quite the challenging position for them to be fighting in, as Myth is right here atop of them. online now looking to make a little bit of play, but here we go. G6 and G9 comes pushing up and into that, and of course online looking to close it up. Will he get it? No. Myth stops them dead in the tracks, and of course, what a play that was. Absolutely insane. But we are now down to our final 3 teams. That is 21, that is E29, and then of course we still have our stragglers just holding on up in the buildings there. That of course being the players there from Myth, reduced down to only 2 members now.
Fox alongside even Banyu for 21 Esports, with those heads up plays, with those risky plays, are able to buy themselves a 3rd position already as well, sat with 5 kills. This is a big game for 21 Esports, and this is 21 Esports really continuing their momentum. What was a bad day 1, showing that they can contest with the rest. Yes, they lose Fox, but with Banyu also making it into zone, they can also play for that healing strat and force Myth now into the fight, already sending those smokes out, understanding they could just play for time. E29, though, as we say, they control the zone, and then narratively, E29 should be the ones to take this game away.
Well, as we see that confirm now come through, well, Mr. Dark Strike Blue Zone getting the confirm onto 21. Right back they go, but now it is a fight between E29 and of course the players coming in from Myth. It is a 2v3, and E29 does have that position within the zone. They are set up, they are just hugging the edge of this ridge line in anticipation of that rotation coming in off of Myth. But of course now Shirtsy steps up, picks up the first play, and of course Myth is caught out in the blue zone, but they are looking to heal up. And how much longer will they be able to hold on to this as the blue zone is about to come in? But of course now E29 rushing up into the compound, looking to see if they can find those final few hits.
What they should do, Myth, just give this kill away, allow the blue zone to finish you off, take the 2nd position, don't give E29 the extra point. That is the best way to play it. The blue zone just does too much damage for E29 to properly search through that building, and of course it is nevertheless E29 just going to wait for that chicken dinner to enter inside their bellies, because it is a strong game coming from them. Their position, of course, on the off angle to take out those few remaining teams who were risking it as well. Any one of those teams who were able to take down that side of E29 were able to, could have come out with this game. And that's how close it was, DK. How close it was to even a team like EVOS taking a win as well.
Wow. And I mean, it has been an absolute bloodbath. Absolutely insane few zones that we've had here. The positional play was crazy. Now even the zone shifts being pretty crazy for the players here. But of course now Myth still just holding on, sitting on still 9 medkits, right? We can go for a little while longer.
He's going. He is chugging along with healing real fine. That blue zone not quite doing enough damage for him just yet. Yes, it's going to tickle him down, but E29, one who this play is like, we need to be able to find them. We assume they're inside the building, but we can't go in. It's just too risky. And I mean, it's time, if there is a time to celebrate, dance, this is the time to do it for E29. You can see them just playing 1v1 against each other. There is no hope for them to lose this game, but there's also no hope to get this final kill. It's just a patient play to pick up what will be, of course, this inevitable win. And E29, even heading through now with this result, they started in 12th position. With a big win like this, can also contest into that top 7 with, as we say, teams like Indian Tigers, Orange, Secret, kind of performing bad today compared to what they were able to show up yesterday in a consistency even in day 1. There we go. E29 finally secure that win.
Yep, and what a win that is. I mean, yeah, it is very unfortunate to see, of course, how it ended there for Myth, but a beautiful hill strat coming in right there at the end. But well done, E29 picking up the chicken dinner there alongside their 5 kills. Myth also finishing off really strong on this one, coming in on an 8 kill match there. Really impressive stuff, but of course also 21, 5 kills to their name. Good placement.
Overall, as we say, yes, 21 Esports getting that third position, but even BURIRAM continue that consistency in over fourth position, picking up still 16 kills out of that game. A mega win for them. A massive win for them overall. Even they're blind with another top 5 position. Blind, strong, and as we say, even these upsetting teams down below in 10th position can slowly climb their way up. Because when you look down the leaderboard and you look at where the rest of these teams have ended up, Team Secret over in 11th position, you even see the likes of ITBF as well having a bad game, ending up falling out very early.
Yeah, I mean, it was a particularly tough one, but yeah, we got to give it to BURIRAM, bringing in a very, very impressive amount of kills there. 16, as you pointed out. Absolutely insane, especially on a Miramar map. That is pretty tough, so well done. Beautifully played, but of course, now we're going to be looking to head back right on towards Erangel to see what the teams are going to bring with our second visit to the map. So expecting quite a bit of interesting plays as we, of course, make our way on to Erangel. So be sure to stay tuned. We'll be back right after the break with some Erangel action. Hello and welcome back to the Thunder Cup as we of course now move into our third game. My name is DK and with me is the lovely Highland Wolf. We're getting ready to move in to our second game on Erangel. Of course, we've seen quite a bit of action already coming off of that first match. Now Wolf, this second one I'm expecting to be pretty exciting.
Right, so we had the Eagles take through the first Erangel game, and then when it also comes towards that second game, we had actually E2-9 overall, who were able to take up that second chicken dinner. And we do have a little bit of a reset here by the looks of it, so we will have to wait a few moments before we get back into this third game, DK. However, it is the most of the team that I'm looking forward to is, I would say, 21 Esports, actually, for their third overall position. in both games 1 and game 2. And the consistency that they seem to be showing, literally the same kill points they're able to pick up, the same amount of points overall at 15 points per game. And now, actually, I think that looking at them going into the third game now, in the fourth game, if they can continue this, 21 Esports is definitely a team that look like they can easily make that top 7 when it comes to their consistency, and not only today, but also yesterday when they had that 70-point game.
Yeah, definitely a lot looking up for the teams. And we got to be watching to see exactly what the players there from 21 are going to be doing, and whether or not, as you said, they'll be able to continue with that consistency that we've been seeing coming in from them. Of course, now as we restart back up on towards Erangel, this was now the chance where the teams have that opportunity. I mean, because coming into today, ITBF, BURIRAM, and the 21 Esports were looking exceptionally strong. Coming off of the back of the day before, we had VPE sitting at the top of the log. Now they have been moved down in towards 4th place. And I already think that there's already been a considerable amount of changes already coming in, as the teams have just been bringing that next level play so far over these past 2 games.
Definitely ITBF should be in that third overall position, considering that BURIRAM 21 Esports have had good games overall. VPE, I would say that they had a fairly decent showing when it came to their first game. Their second game, however, was much more dicey. It didn't look so good for them. And I think they are saved also by the fact that Secret Orange, Indian Tigers are also performing below par when it comes to those first 2 matches. And it has been these teams who are edging their way to that top 7. They have been forming better, as we say, the likes of Eagle 365, even Myth as well, showing up strong when it comes to their overall positions. I would even argue that Blind, in an extent too, have been stepping up when it comes to their now 2 games in a row. They've been able to secure a top 5 position.
Well, it is going to be definitely quite interesting to see what the teams will bring in this Erangel match, as we now just getting ready to warm up that plane. The teams, of course, now just warming up their hands, making sure everything is working, everything is as it should be, and of course
your
expecting...
hands work?
Well, I think so. I hope so.
Do they work?
Some days.
Do we need to warm up our hands?
Yeah, well, for me it's winter, so I have to.
True. See, it's summer over here, so it's much warmer. We don't have to warm up our hands. The sun just does it for us.
But you gotta limber up, man. You gotta flex them. You gotta stretch them. You don't want to get any injuries. That's important, though.
True. Very important. Very, very important indeed, as we enter through to the plane path, right? And it is important as also flying into a good location. When we talk about that plane path there, DK, heading towards shooting range, heading down towards Lipovka, a change actually, the first time we get to see it head over towards, I would say, more so this eastern side of Erangel. And I think also looking forward to teams seeing how they perform, dropping over in locations up towards the north side once again, where we don't actually have teams able to drop down in likes of Quarry, Primorsk, Fair, where we know some of those teams like E365, like also VPE, do favor in dropping.
I can tell you it's definitely going to be quite interesting to see what the teams are going to be doing with this. And of course, well, exactly where they're going to be going, as this flight path again is so far up in towards the north. So definitely making things already quite a bit challenging for the teams here to cope with the difficulties, the intricacies coming in from the map here. But of course, we're going to be looking to see what they will bring as they move their way on through. And of course, looking for that action.
And when it comes to that action specifically, yes, VPE, they change it up. They go towards Zaki, which is also where we have seen them drop before. Much more familiarity there for also for Angry Men. And, of course, ITBF dropping over towards Georgia Pole. But when you also look at the amount more teams that have dropped over around this Georgia Pole side, E365 joining them, TAKAE joining them along as well. And it does create a little bit more congestion, even blind there to an extent, where these two teams, ITBF and 4AM, weren't used to these early fights in their own location. So this is where it does get interesting to see how they can perform. I think definitely 4AM, yes, they have been struggling a lot, but I definitely do not count them out as a team early on who are able to take these decisive fights.
Well, it's definitely going to be quite interesting to see what the teams will bring as they now look to make their way on through that zone, of course, centering up on to that far northeastern side. So again, a slight bit of an interesting shift coming in here from the game, looking to just add that extra level of complexity. But now as we look up in towards North George, things are looking pretty hot already right off the bat.
Indeed, of course, TAKAE still edging their way up in the looting phase, but here come 4 a.m. You can see them coming in from either side, looking to try find one member, looking to try find a pick, and this is in typical 4 a.m. style, as we say, the aggression coming out early, but also trying to split, to find those off angles, try to put pressure from multiple fronts onto their enemies, as Trace is going to head up first by, of course, Satu, taking down the backside, not going to be able to be in this fight just yet, and because as a result, Zhao Min actually getting caught off in the off angle means that it does limit 4 a.m.'s opportunities a lot more. Brilliant work there by Hades to be able to find that one in straight away, and TAKAE keeping themselves up, and this, of course, is where it does get dicey for 4 a.m. Even their crush on the off angle flank side, who are able to be pinning down 4 a.m. from range.
Oh, I mean, so much potential lying right here as we look at these players making their way on through. And of course, now we can see quite a few hits in quite a few engagements coming in that kill feed, as we see EVOS and the players there from E365, or was it E29, exchanging quite a few hits between each other.
Indeed, E29 do have to be a little bit careful here, as he did just lose 3 knocks, only liking once again a live 4 burn. So it is 4 kills going over, but they barely keep themselves alive. Lycan once again showing up strong, but it's TAKAE, as we also see over in Georgia Bowl, who are able to take down 4 angry men as well, only losing 1 knock off the back of it. So we keep all 4 players alive, just like E29, and it's big upsets already. Unfortunately for Angry Men, another time that they fall out what could have been last position, but saved by, of course, the side of EVOS.
Yeah, that was really a pretty tough find right there. But now we're looking to see, of course, as we head on over back towards the place here from the ITBF, right? They're sitting all the way down over in towards that Georgia Pool region. A fairly big compound section to be in. So many buildings, a lot of potential town fighting that can come from this. But of course, as the teams make their way on through, looking to see whether or not they'll be able to pick up anything in the process. And of course, well, they have a few players positioned over down towards the south from them. So could be looking to seeing those shots, those engagements come from this. But of course, there's so many players also just positioned up on towards the north. It's curious to see exactly how they're going to try and make it through this one.
And because it is so unusually much space inside this phase number 1 zone, when you look at teams not taking Yasnaya Polyana, not taking Potato Hill, even all these spaces in between Roshawk Mansion, Yasnaya Polyana, like those Barrel Hole fields, like those hills just to the south of them as well, all of this central position unused, and that is what makes it so interesting in this phase number 1 zone, is there is plenty of opportunities for teams to be able to make these wide flanking rotations, to be able to still find a position in the zone, which is more than can be said from what we saw in the first Erangel game, where it was much more decisive about getting a position early on and being able to keep it.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be so exciting to see what the teams will bring, as of course, you know, we're waiting to see where the next phase is going to be taking us. I mean, we have the players here from E29, of course, now just trying to push a little bit further up in towards the zone. They do have a little bit of company as they move up, that of course being the players there from E365. So definitely looking to see again what is going to be happening as the teams continue to push on through. E29 just about to make entry onto the edge of that zone. But now, this is where things could get interesting once again. The teams are getting closer and closer as they start pushing further and further in towards a good position, trying to set themselves up for these coming few phases.
to positioning as well, a team that we do have to keep in mind looking back at their strong positioning and how they have got so many points is BURIRAM, who are able, with their aggressive positioning, to be able to find strong spots inside the zone, to be able to keep them and actually gatekeep teams off of positioning when it comes to getting those spots early on, more so than the rest, and predicting those zones. Yes, it is a risky strategy because there is always that chance that the zone goes away from you, and when that has been the case, BURIRAM do fall short, but for the most part, they have been hitting well, and even when that zone does shift away from them slightly, they're still able to reposition and show off their team fighting prowess when it does come to them taking those wide angle splits, to when it comes to them being able to rush up front against enemy players. And when you also look at the likes of ANGKOR moving in, I think another team that we should not be counting out. ANGKOR definitely rising up the ranks, but it's still also more so than BURIRAM, of course, a lot more work to do for them. And I think they have been starting off a little bit slow when it comes into today's two matches. They definitely need to pick up the pace if they want to be able to secure their place inside the top 7. And definitely, with only 2 games to go, it has to happen now.
Yeah. Of course, now we see them just stepping up into position, looking to take a potential engagement up to the side there of the shelter. And of course, now we see a few knocks finding their way through. This players get flung out of their vehicles, but of course ANGKOR just trying to solidify, trying to fortify their hold up here in towards the compound here in the scrapyard, looking to pick up a good angle, and of course maybe a few kills alongside that.
When it comes to this positioning around a scrapyard, yes, I think it's an overall position to take, but the problem is if they do wait too long and teams do start to surround them on these hills, it does make it very tricky to position out, and that's why I do like the position overall of the vehicle placement, to be able to get that one vehicle back into safety, especially where they don't have multiple means of transportation, and even to an extent keeping one of their players of 0 on that off angle to make sure they can't fully be gate kept away, but it is blind to will catch off TAKAE on a rotation out of that Roshawk bridge.
Oh, and that is of course what we've been waiting for, to see the players from blind step up and of course get into a fight. But now the fight is turning against them, not exactly the way we would have hoped to see this go for them. But now blinded down to their last remaining hopeful. Of course, now looking to see whether or not they're going to try and rotate away. And it seems like that is exactly what they're doing just off of the back of this fight. I mean, the players here from TAKAE already sitting on 7 kills so far.
Indeed, of course, yes, blind do need to keep themselves alive. Still not inside our top 7 quite yet. TAKAE are putting in work when it comes to upsets. Another game now, as you say, 7 kills, the highest so far out of any team, and surprisingly so high already. But E29, they're also losing 2 members up front this time around. Team Secret.
Wow, Lycan just coming in with the laser hits there, the crazy shots right on to the side there, of course, now of the players from Team Secret, looking to pick up a little bit more as they continue to hold on to their compound. But of course, those nades just coming on through as we can see Lycan getting picked up in the process. Now it is up to Shirty to make this play, to get that final play going, the last show of aggression. And of course, there's quite a bit of pressure now riding on his shoulders, as we did see the players here from E29 coming into 12th place on today's matches. So hopefully they'll have a bit of an improvement, but it is quite the difficult position for them to be in.
For E29, Lycan was putting in so much work, but as soon as Lycan now falls, you say yes, it is only Shirty now pulling off the 1v3 potential against Team Secret. Yes, they have shots down, but his shot will be also revived. It just looks so dire for E29. They ran into one team fight too many. And even their E365 though, off the back angle, understanding those shots are coming through. Could be interesting to see if E365 do decide to go for that gatekeep once this fight is over. And assuming, of course, once Team Secret do make their position known much more forward towards that school and apartment section. And school and apartments being more towards that center does create a lot of danger around these teams moving in.
Yeah, definitely quite a bit of danger there for them. But I mean, Team Secret definitely not in danger at all at the current moment. Of course, they move in quickly, swiftly clearing it up. Just confirming those points. Now sitting on a very comfortable 4. But of course, we still have 13 teams remaining. And of course, a few shots finding their way on through still onto the side now of the Indian Tigers. As we can see, Stars now already getting knocked out. Kishu just trying to hold on up there. And of course, the rest of the players here from the Indian Tigers trying to hold on. But 21 just lasering in with those heads, finding the pressure points and just making them hurt so bad.
This is where we say, because it is so dangerous, because of how open between the apartments and school is, and how tricky it is to navigate your way into this compound. You see, even Indian Tigers now losing Stavatar as well. 21 finding another knock in. Sarang as well going low, getting popped into the ground. There go Indian Tigers completely out. That will be all they wrote.
Man, that was a really tough position for them to be in. But now that zone has shifted west rather, once again. But we see TAKAE very close to the players there, of course, from the ITBF. So they are looking to apply that pressure. They are looking to continue with the streak we see them on so far already managing 7 kills. They're looking to potentially make that 11 with this fight onto the side of ITBF. But it is going to be a tough one. It is not going to be a walkover, and a really good showing coming in from the players here of TAKAE so far today.
It's almost bittersweet though. We haven't seen this come through at all in any points they were able to pick up in the first 2 days. And TAKAE now picking up what is so many points over so many different teams. All 3 of these games so far. It could have been TAKAE even also contesting a spot inside that top 7. Instead, all they're doing is playing for that upset, playing to push teams outside of that top 7 instead. And also, when you even look towards Blind, finding one onto VPE, it is risky. Yes, Blind, you do potentially have still them alive. Yes, Evo is still in the game, but it is revealing those shots. And still Blind going nevertheless for a 1v4. Very risky play. He gets punished for it in the VPE takedown.
Oh, I mean, but now also Myth right here alongside VPE on the top of the ridge line just outside there of Rozak, of course, looking to reposition us, of course. Now, they do have a little bit of company, as we can see TAKAE now moving into position. Keen just up ahead already, sending up those utils, looking to pick up a little bit of damage. But of course, here we go. The smokes now being deployed, the shots flying back and forth, and the team's just going at it, bringing their all. But here we go. Keen getting taken out as Megamind steps up, and Big Brains that play, finding a beautiful shot right up in it to the side there of Keen. But now the rest of the players from TAKAE coming in with their rotation as well, looking to avenge their teammate. But they have to be careful. It is going to be a tricky one. We've got so many teams in the region still. 11 teams, in fact, still remaining.
But Team Secret, they hold one of, I would say, the strongest positions in the zone. Yes, it's in the center. Of course, it's going to be strong for future shifts. But when it also comes to the positioning around the hillside, and when it comes to trying to navigate into a fight versus Team Secret, that's where it gets very difficult for squads to do. Only really Pachinki behind them, and the likes of BURIRAM could actually contest over them. And I think BURIRAM do overall have that stronger positioning now because of how hard that shift has gone towards the south side. Pachinki going to be the central final position of this game, and Pachinki going to be where we close out the 3rd match.
Of course, now we can see the players here from Myth taking a considerable amount of damage. Princess now being the remaining hopeful there, as we see Megamind getting knocked on out. Princess taking a little bit of damage in the rotation, but of course, Princess is heading up into the side there of 21. So this could be a very challenging point to move up into, but of course, we now see that zone just shifting a little bit further down in towards the south, and it is already a heavily occupied zone to try and push into, as Pachinki is the destination for the current time of that zone.
But when it comes to that destination of Pachinki, there are still so many teams, as you say, to enter in. It is already congested, nevertheless. And when you think about Pachinki finishes, it is about teams, actually, I would argue, staying on the outside, even using those gutters on the outskirts because they are so comfortably in zone to be able to survive, to be able to play on that off angle, to be able to find the surprise peaks onto enemy members. I think that using the gutter plays for now makes a lot more sense than playing it when it is a little bit more trickier to do when those gutters are on the off angle. E365 though do look like they will be cut down by the side of BURIRAM. They lose one player but now lose a second. Audrey as well will fall. It's only now Akosu who survives, not able to push in any further.
And it's going to be quite a challenge to hold this front as there's so many teams now converging down on towards the side of Pachinki here. You can see, of course, now Ikuzo looking to potentially pick up ahead onto the side there. But no, BURIRAM says no. We will put you down right where you stand. Of course, sending those nades in, picking up the kill. And now this is where Pachinki is going to be such a highly contested zone. Because, I mean, just looking at this, the zone has centered up perfectly on it towards Pachinki, and the teams are going to have to fight tooth and nail to find that positioning, to find that angle, and of course to hold on as we now wait to see what Orange is going to be doing down in towards the south. 21 applying a little bit of pressure on towards them, finding the shots on through. But this is where now Orange needs to make that play. Puff looking to pop off with the nade as he sends it across. As 21 starts pushing onto his angle, picks up the one knock, but of course picks up the third one. Will he be able to find the final player? No, 21 stops him before he could. And with that, of course, they get ended right there. Very swift, abrupt end.
They keep all four players alive, but this blue zone is closing in, and because he had to make like revive onto the low player initially, and they still got SKYLIGHT Gaming overlooking them, is very, very dire for how E21 look to get out of this tricky position, how they look to enter into the city. There are spots if they go for the wide drive-by over the fields and then enter in around those blue houses on the outskirts of Pachinki in specific. That is how I think they survive more so in this game, because going directly through the road and entering into SKYLIGHTZ, you could actually rush them through with four players, yes, as they do start to separate more so into the main section of Pachinki, but is still risky nonetheless. Pinky can definitely blow people up before they even get into the house.
Yeah, and of course now they too are looking to reposition, just looking to strengthen that angle in towards Pachinki. It's going to be absolutely essential to find those spots, to have those angles ready to roll as the teams, of course, now get ready to push even further up in. And of course now the players here from Starlight just taking up position right there on the edge. But now, of course, we look to see what the teams a little bit further down to the south are going to be doing. 21 quad all the way down in towards the south. It is a bit of a risky rotation, trying to come up through the fields. Of course, now with the addition of the players here from ITBF right up ahead of them, it is going to be such a difficult rotation, but they are going to try. They have no other option, and it is kind of what we need to see them do.
If it was any other team than 21 Esports, I think I would have concern for them, but this is the only option that they really have. And also, you've seen what Fox can do in that previous game, rotating through all the players. Like, it just don't give a darn damn, as it will be also decided SKYLIGHT trying to cut them off in those houses. But of course, 21 Esports understanding that, seeing those rotations, that's why they went one building further to make sure that they keep themselves in a comfortable position in this game. However, the more stronger position is around this church, of course, overlooking Pachinki, and that's where ITBF control. ITBF, a team that haven't had that success so far, have been getting quite early, and this is a chance, if any, to be able to really come back strong and be able to reclaim what has been their first position taken down.
Yeah, and of course now we see quite a bit of fighting breaking out as the players there from ITBF are looking to hold on to that church position. It gives them a nice bit of high ground advantage there, but it is going to be such a challenge to defend it against the sheer number of players still left in this match. And of course, now as we can see, Dream looking at the players from VPE positioned out in the field there. It is a pretty difficult position to be playing from. And of course, down in the south, things are also looking pretty tough, pretty hairy, as everyone is still just trying to find themselves into the positions, as we see now on the kill feed there. FlukeTH getting picked up in the process. And of course, now we still have Schwaps all the way on the outside, on the far edge of that zone. But here we go, the pressure is mounting. The teams, of course, now starting to fight as they need to get back up into zone. With the shift heading over towards the west, it makes it just that extra bit harder for the teams.
Especially for a team like TAKAE, who had been looking strong initially, but they lose out on members, they lose out on opportunities to be able to get back in this zone. And BURIRAM seems to be closing in around TAKAE. Gamori only so long for this world as a solo player. Maybe we pull off a miracle, but it is very, very difficult indeed. You do a shoot with BURIRAM. Yes, they do just clean up that play. Not even going to lose a member off of it. Team Secret as well, going to hold off in their reposition with the smokes crossing over the road, going to dodge out the bullets coming through from ITBF with those smoke roads in. In Team Secret, they also hold on to a position on the edge of zone, but do need to head a little bit further than that building. And that's what makes it so tricky for Team Secret in their position right now. They're building not safe inside that zone, barely.
And this is going to be such a difficult zone to play, as the teams now need to push further on to the west. It is taking us out into the open field here, but of course you can see BURIRAM already trying to come through with that rotation, as G9 just leapfrogs his way on in, but gets picked up just coming through. Now, this is where Kingzo and what is left of the team are looking to try and survive, as they are hugging the edge of the south, but a little bit further up in towards the north. The players there from ITBF are having quite a challenging time finding that entry up in towards the zone. They have to get past VPE, but of course now those heads fighting the way on through, as FlukeTH gets knocked out once again. Two stops now looking to follow through on the engagement, looking to close up the kills and of course secure those points for themselves as the teams all push on in. The smokes are deployed, but the pressure is mounting.
They had to take out ITBF, and because VPE does not do so, VPE gets destroyed when it comes to being able to survive. Meantime, as long as ITBF survive, but they do not, SWEP is able to come off on the other end, is able to find one position inside it. Leon is able to take them down, and SWEP will have the building, will have the cover, the only real cover inside this zone with that crate, and it is looking strong nevertheless for the solo player of VPE. Team Secret, they still need to make that though. That zone is coming in, and it is no longer safe in those houses. Phase 6 will chew them up and spit them out in front of the rest of these teams in this lobby.
And of course, now they're all looking to find that position, as the blue zone is already starting to do the damage, finding the hits and of course the knocks onto the side there of Team Secret. Now of course Pinky and the teammates here, Slayer looking to just close it up, picking up those final few hits, but of course BURIRAM just on the opposite end, spread out into that blue. Beautiful nade now coming onto the side here of Pinky, as Slayer's quickly looking to recover an extra additional layer of health there, but of course also needing to try and get that raise back in. BURIRAM Kenzo looking exceptionally strong on this edge of the zone. But of course now, to try and improve on that, he needs to get up into zone. He needs to secure that position. Because looking at the players there from 21, they have an exceptional angle. They've got the higher ground. They got the advantage there. But now, will they be able to hold that and make the most of that play?
Is still, nevertheless, 21 Esports, they still have a position inside of zone. They still have the building there of protection. Team Secret do need to fall down. They can't progress while there still is a member behind him. And as long as we play for spoiler, Redo can be able to pin 21 alongside the help of SKYLIGHT Gaming in their current holding position. VPE still going to stand strong, and so will BURIRAM as these solo players. I don't think Velmoth, yes, will just get caught out, will not be able to survive. SKYLIGHT Gaming do take them out, and yes, it is Team Secret finding one, but Team Secret also maybe finding a second. No, not quite.
Oh, Fredo getting stopped right in his tracks as the shots come through. And of course, that is the end for them. 21 finishing it off, bringing in yet another additional point. But now 4 teams remain, that of course being 3 solo players and the 3-man team. Make that 2 solo players as the shots come through. It is the end for the players coming in, of course, from the Starlights, and that is what they are seeing. Starlights are the same, of course, now going for BURIRAM as they too get sent back into the lobby. But now the play is between VPE and 21. 21 coming in with the number advantage. But if Schweppes plays this one well, could see potentially quite a few more hits finding their way on through. I mean, VPE already sitting on 6, looking for 9. But now, what is going to happen as the zone shifts up once again, just adding to the difficulty? There we go. Schweppes picking up the first one on towards Fox, of course. Now, 2 players remain. They are looking to push up aggressively. And of course, we can see a quick res now coming through onto the side there of Fox. A little bit of spray fishing, but it is not enough. As 21 closes it up, sends it on through. And with that, of course, picking up that chicken dinner.
21 Esports so far have looked so damn good when it comes to their plays in today's games. They pick up now what had been 2 third-place finishes, now a chicken dinner. On top of that, with 12, 16, 17 kills in total. Over 4 squads they wiped out, one extra good measure. VPE, though, they also come back into form, taking that second position. BURIRAM as well, staying consistent in that 3rd overall position with their 6 kills, just like VPE.
Oh, and it has been quite a fight to make it up into this final zone. Of course, also the players there from Team Secret, they finished off strong in this round. Of course, coming in on 7 kills. We also had the players there from Starlight, I think, finishing off on 4 kills. But we have to look over towards TAKAE. You know, they came in also coming into 7th place, but they finished off 7 kills strong. So really good play coming in from TAKAE. And of course, it is a pretty tough up in the top there. Quite a nice kill distribution on the higher placements in this game. As we move on through, it is looking a little bit scarce. Not a lot of points being awarded here, but of course, Lycan did bring in a 4-kill performance. So still an exceptional one coming in from E29. But we have to also take into consideration that a lot of this fighting happened close to the end of this match. It wasn't fighting, there wasn't much fighting in the early game.
Yeah, indeed, it was around that Pachinki finish. It was where we saw so many of those players drop. And I think also a very important finish and placement for Team Secret, who had falling short in those first 2 matches. Able to pick up 7 kills at 5th position. Definitely going to save them with the opportunity to get inside of his top 7. But we still need also another good game 4 to be able to confirm that spot inside. And I think alongside them, Orange as well need to have a really big performance if they want to be able to still secure their space inside, because they too, yes, they had a good game yesterday, but now today it is a complete different story. They have to be able to switch around.
Yeah, well, it is going to be quite an interesting one. And of course, we're going to be moving up into our final match of the day. Gonna look and see what is going to be happening as the teams, of course, push on into that. But we'll be right back with the final match, getting straight up into the final stretch, the final bit of crazy insanity gameplay. Of course, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short few minutes. welcome back as we jump into our final match of the day, heading straight up in towards Miramar, and we're looking to see quite a bit of action, quite a bit of heated gameplay come from this final map. Of course, my name is DK. We are here with me is Highland Wolf. Wolf, what is your expectation for this map?
Come to Miramar, my expectations here, DK, is 21 Esports. They have been on fire all darn day, and they are not looking like they are going to cool down when it comes to this hot and spicy sandy dunes to close out what is our 12th and penultimate final game of the Thunder Cup preliminary stage. Of course, it's, remember, only the top 7 teams at the end of this game that go through to the grand finals, joining up with the likes of Group B. They're also having 7 qualifiers coming through from them, including teams there like Zeus Esports, A1 Esports, World League level teams, and of course, never mind also the 2 invited teams who will get joining in with them into the grand final.
There's quite a bit at stake, and of course this is going to be that final opportunity for the teams to step up and show us what they've got, what they've been hiding. And now, as we see that flight path coming in from up in that northwestern side, we are looking at the flight path, of course, crossing straight through San Martin, of course, heading over in towards Impala. So a fairly northeasterly flight path here, but of course it is almost a little bit centered up as well.
When it comes to those side or center-based zones, especially heading over towards Happy End of Patron, you can bet your hat that for the final game, we're going to keep to the tradition. We're going to see so many of these teams drop down around that location. But also, I think it is favorable for a lot of these teams to be dropping around the more middle part of Miramar, heading towards that south side and looting up there because of actually how it will be so far away from the zone. So much space on the board that teams can use to their advantage to have a quiet early to mid game stage and work their way into zone slowly, rather than having to contest for what of course will be a very congested side of all the way from Happy End of Patron down towards that Bandita, even towards Impala, of course the likes of El Porto as well, taken down by BURIRAM nevertheless as well.
Yeah, and this is, of course, now where we look to see what bit of aggression will happen. Starting it off, of course, now Team Secret getting caught up right in the engagement as Fredo gets put to a swift and right there. Very big show of aggression coming in from 4 Angry Men. But, of course, now, as we've established, that is a good start for them. But now we look to see whether or not they'll be able to continue with that aggression into those later phases. But now they're focusing up on towards Team Secret, looking to pick up those kills.
And when it takes also a look down at Happy in the Patron, you see the E365. They also, of course, go up against Indian Tigers. Savitar right up against it versus Anthem. But as you say, it is 4 Angry Men who have devastated over Team Secret. And if you want an upset, if you want to take Team Secret out of all opportunities to get inside that top 7, that is how you do it. But it is not even the side of their Indian Tigers who have to worry about their own lives versus E365 or 4 AM versus the lives of Team Secret. It is TAKAE up against another team that needs a massive good showing here, Blind, who could continue along the upset train that TAKAE are pounding into this lobby.
Well, it is such a tough one, of course. Now 4 Angry Men still looking to push up a little bit further. And as you were mentioning, you know, the players from Blind, we see them positioned over on towards El Azhar. But here we go. Team Secret now getting pushed as we see 4 Angry Men moving on through, cleaning on up. And now it is up to shots to make that final play. But as we hop on to the players here from Blind, we can see Psycho now just getting knocked out as Crash crashes the hopes of Psycho, ending it very abruptly. But now Pain looking to make a little bit of a rotation up on this eastern front, trying to get a little bit of distance in as well, just to stay ahead of the damage.
We do have Evo as well off the outside of the fight, so they shouldn't completely get taken out of the game. You do at least have one extra solo player of either away. But Pain, yes, they are going to be chased down. They need a vehicle ASAP to be able to get on the road, get moving, because if they cannot find some mobility, they get taken down. If they cannot find some form of safety in away from vision lines of TAKAE, they get taken down. And this is where the scary for a team like Blind, as we said, who needed such a big win, already down to 2 players. It does look very, very dire indeed for them overall, and especially as this zone has gone towards the more central but northern side portion of Miramar, is Pain is being pushed back from outside the zone.
It is going to be quite a tricky rotation for a lot of these teams to find a good secure point in that zone. And of course, now we see 21 in the players there from 4 Angry Men, still sitting fairly close together, but of course now 4 Angry Men ending it up right there for the team of Team Secret as they get sent back into the lobby. Now 21 looking to make a little bit of an advance in and around Hacienda del Patron, looking to make that play. But it is going to be a fairly tricky one once they move into those later phases, as we do see the blue zone about to start closing on up. And of course, 21 just scanning the area, making sure that it is clear to continue on their path.
It's nothing too different, though, through from 21 Esports, considering, of course, that they always do tend to go for this off angle of having a platform on the town itself. We're also looking around San Martin, but it is Fox who will get dropped. It is also Lou who will get dropped with Tao. So it is a 1-for-2 trade right now, with also Banyu overlooking the rest.
Oh, and that is a wrap for them, as 21 sends the players there from 4 Angry Men backing. What a show of aggression that was. I mean, 4 Angry Men just came pushing up over the top of the hill, finding a little bit of damage in towards Fox, but Fox really retaliated so quickly. Of course, just opening it up for the rest of the players from 21 to come in and clear it out.
I liked that initial positioning as well. When we look at 21 Esports positioning overall into that fight, they could all congest in together. And that is how you split in the early game, DK. You, yes, take different buildings, but you stay close enough to the point that if a team like decide to rush you and a player does get downed early on, you can all collapse on them and you can be able to circle around them and pressure them from different angles and different heights in the game to be able to take that high ground advantage, especially Banyu showing up strong, able to overlook that entire fight to be able to pick off the final member of 4 AM. But it is also Myth heading in towards E365.
Oh, here we go. The aggression finding its way on through. Quick knock coming in towards well, 60066 now, as we see the shots finding their way. Now, Princess looking to rotate up, maybe potentially supply an extra additional layer of support. But of course, Princess once again taking a little bit of damage as Myth is now being put on a bit of a back foot on this rotation.
E365, they need a big game indeed as well to be able to secure any position, any hope of that top 7 placement. But it is E365 nevertheless starting off strong. They do take down 2 members of the Myth, and the Myth as well, a team that do also need big scores. And it is so many teams who need a good showing in this final game, considering how close this scoreline actually reasonably is. Because when we look back at the scoreline going into this 4th game, we can understand it well. ITBF, BURIRAM, 21 Esports, and also VPE, they've all effectively done enough to this point in the day that they should all go through, you assume, to that top 7. And it is actually the likes of Secret Orange and Indian Tigers, who are the other top 7 starting in today, that could still also have their positions lost to the likes of the Myth, to the likes of Blind, to the likes of E365. But because these upsets are coming through on these lower placed teams, it not only provides an opportunity for some of those teams in originally the top 7 to stay there, but also provides a team who are doing well, like E365, to be able to clean up one final game and be able to steal away those points.
Oh, man, of course, now another team looking to clean it up and steal away those points is, of course, the players here from Indian Tiger as they step onto the side of ANGKOR. But ANGKOR just putting up the defensive plays, and of course Shroud just making them regret that first initial push coming in from them. But of course now Sarang still looking to make a move here, but they are now getting surrounded, so things are starting to look pretty tough as Sarang gets knocked on down as well, and Prince is now left to make the final play for his team.
When it comes to, of course, Prince being able to survive, it just does look dire indeed. Unfortunately, Indian Tigers, their hopes will be crushed by ANGKOR on the San Martin Plateau, and that is probably it for the Indian Tigers. You do have to imagine here, DK. Bad day for them, unfortunately. Just not able to hold with the rest, not able to step up as need be. And I do fear that Indian Tigers may just be eliminated right now in name.
It's going to be a pretty tough scoreboard to be looking at. But now, looking at the zone itself is looking pretty crazy as it's centered up over on towards that western side once again. All right, we do have a little bit of separation coming in as we look at the placement of the teams. The players there from BURIRAM all the way on that far western side, but now starting to push up and towards a more centralized position. But the east is still looking pretty tough as we've got the players here from EVOS and as well as TAKAE now looking to make that rotation on through, looking to find that play. It is quite the journey they need to embark on now.
When you also think about VPE coming in towards Happy and Patton, it's not just the town itself that will be contested because of this western shift, but also the hills around it. The E365 are already looking to control, and they're setting up that position for that information play in this mid-game stage, which we say is so important to be able to make the best decisions coming into those final few zones. Yes, they will have to fight against E29, as well as ANGKOR as well. Yes, they own the plateau, but you even have Orange coming in behind them. You have also VPE, who can still side with third-party power from 21 Esports.
Oh, I mean, the center zone is just looking like heaven. So many teams so close together, expecting the chaos to break out at a moment's notice. And of course now the teams are looking to fortify themselves. They're looking to put up a strong angle from which they can fight and defend. Of course now the players here from ANGKOR up on the high ground looking towards the VPE, putting a few shots up in towards Shreps, but of course Shreps coming in with a few responses in return.
Still, though, it is nevertheless E365 with that central power play that is so strong for them. And when you look at also teams that can come up with the upset, yes, Blind are still alive, but you're more looking also towards those like EVOS and TAKAE coming in along this eastern edge so far, and edging their way towards the likes of water treatment, also edging their way towards those hills outside of having the pass on for EVOS. And I think that with these upsets, with these extra players, yes, we have to wait just a little bit longer for phase number 3 to really decide where teams will be able to fight, but definitely will force even more congestion and will force a lot of these teams to be, as we see, locked into their current position in an unresettable place. Because of the likes of VPE, they've moved in so far, but don't really have a high ground or don't really have a space to move back upon. The road is their only real means to transport, and as you know, so open, so difficult to cross, that they have actually got to rely on a lot of different teams to move around them to be able to give them space and be able to then reset into a new phase 3.
Well, we look to see where that next phase will be taking us. Over the current moment, sitting on that western side, it is looking pretty tough. It is looking pretty hairy, and a few interesting positions, a few interesting rotations already coming through. But now we also see Orange looking to push a little bit further on up. Of course, also Blind holding on towards that eastern end and looking to find that entry point. They, of course, now down to Evo, so it is going to be a pretty tough run here. But looking over to San Martin, VPE, Orange, we've got the players there from ANGKOR taking that position as well. Oh, I'm expecting these crazy, insane fights to be breaking out momentarily.
Nevertheless, it is Orange who take control of that power grid, and I like that heads-up play because they're getting ready in anticipation of it moving towards the northern side still. And having that flexibility is so important when you look towards these next phase shifts. Of course, there still is going to be a short while before it does shift into phase 3, and this is actually what I would say the opportunity for teams to do scouting, maybe using one of their 4 players to get more information heading in, which is going to be so important, especially if it does hard shift again.
Yeah, and of course, you know, information is essential. It is absolutely important. It is essential, boys, piece to have. You know, it helps the teams make those decisions as to where they want to go and how they want to make those plays. But of course, at the current time, this zone is still looking pretty tough. A lot of stationary positions that we see coming in. The team's waiting for that next phase to come, the next shift to find its way on through before, you know, committing to a rotation. And I'm quite curious to see what those rotations will bring as the teams start moving on in.
And as we do hit that phase 3, it does centralize for the most part, but a slight south direction by this zone is it will be around the edge of Hafina Patron, but Bacaro Hills and Martins in play, power grid, the central position. And this is where we said that extra little bit of movement in Orange were able to make, now setting themselves up strong for incoming teams because they've had the time to get a best positional play around this compound. VPE are going to struggle a lot more, however, because of the way this zone is gone. They're not going to be allowed that reset. They're not going to be allowed teams to leave them alone. It is going to be this more northern side as well. You do fear for the side of E365, who have to defend against all of this northern wave.
Quite a northern wave, and it will be, as of course now we're looking over towards the place here from E365, right? Eagle 365 perched up on the top of the hill, just over on that western side of San Martin, of course, and this could be quite the advantageous angle for them. We've seen a few teams already, you know, in past games just fighting it out for control of this hill. But of course, now we look to see where the lobby is going to be rotating up into. Of course, the players there from VPE holding on to that position, not rotating out just yet. ANGKOR also just staying put. They're not moving up just yet. Of course, now, as you said, that northern wall is moving on through. We see the players now, of course, from SKYLIGHTZ Gaming just coming into the north, right up behind the players here from E365. So expecting to see those engagements break out as the teams are getting closer and closer together.
When you think about how congested these teams are, it is VP nevertheless who has been able to break some form of ground for themselves. They pushed ANGKOR back. Not any confirmed kills, but nevertheless, it still is a knock coming through. TAKAE still to find alongside 21 here, a space inside the zone. Yes, Picardo is more open. I think that is the best opportunity to go for. As well as do not forget these extra few players who were picked off at the start, but still have a chance, like Blind, like also the Myth, who still with some points, with a good position, might still be able to stand a chance inside that top 7.
Oh, and speaking about the chance in the top 7, the players here from E29 now looking to take on this fight, but at the players here from SKYLIGHTZ, they're just pushing on in, looking to find the hurt, looking to find the damage. But we see a good response coming in from E29 as they are not backing out of this fight. They are still just holding on, looking to defend their position the best they can. But now we see Shorty looking to find the damage, just looking on the edge of the ridge line. But of course, we can see the players there from SKYLIGHTZ just lined up ahead of him. It is going to be a tricky one. And of course, if they overpeak this one, it could be quite devastating.
But it is his 2 overlooking players of Jersey and Slayer who really are the core parts of this fight against E29, because you have, of course, your middleman going down. Now the long range flank really does come in clutch for that support, and because the threat is just a little bit too much, E29, with that zone also closing in, have decided to try re-navigate around the zone itself. However, EVOS do actually strike down almost 3 players instantaneously. Barely the health bar is staying alive for now on Cowboy and Lycan. Shirty up front as well has to bide time, but EVOS, they lose 2 inside the blue zone. They won't navigate quick enough, and because they didn't find those kills, surely E29 with this reset can bring us back.
Oh, and of course, hopefully this reset will work out for them favorably so. As we see the players there from E365 also just hanging around on the edge, just gatekeeping them. But now the shots finding their way on through on towards EVOS, and this is where Redface is caught in quite a tough decision. He needs to decide, is he going to try and rotate away, disengage to try and secure that to play up into those later phases? But of course now E365, they are just trying to do as much as possible to this idea of EVOS, as Redface now just rolls the vehicle, tries to get back up in towards safety. But the players there from E365, they are not letting him escape this one, and they're looking to punish that rotation.
But we are heading with those rotations on the zone down towards the south side, DK. It is going to be a power grid finish to electrify our final match in the preliminary stage. And it is TAKAE as well striking down, as we say, on the eastern side over to San Martin. TAKAE, nevertheless, looking to try upset 21, looking to try find some form of hope in their final game. TAKAE have been on fire when it comes to these upsets, and they are doing so once again.
Well, I mean, you can just see the hurt coming on through. It is just looking absolutely insane on the east. But as we look on to the map, we can see the players here from BURIRAM, of course, now right here, side by side, right up against the team from SKYLIGHT. So a nice split coming in from the team here from BURIRAM. But of course, they need to start condensing that split. They can't afford to be that split up in this late phases. The blue zone is, of course, now starting to make its way on through. And this is where things are going to get pretty hairy. This is where things are going to get pretty tough. As we see E29 now also looking to push even further up in from the western side. Lycan picking up a quick knock in the process. But of course, now that blue zone does catch up to him. Of course, knocking him right on down. But Pinky comes in with a play. It is not enough as Shorty ends it for them right there. Shorty putting a quick end to the players there, of course. Now, as we hop on over towards E365, they're also caught up in the north of that zone. Quite a bit of distance now to cover still to make it up into the next phase successfully. VPE also just up ahead, just barely gaining entry into the zone. But now they're looking to set up a bit of a gatekeep, as we can see now. The players here trying to move up. We've got the Stone now looking to pick up any damage, and we did see Stone coming in as one of the top fraggers in the previous day, so definitely we know he has that ability to bring in the damage, to bring in the kills. But will he succeed in that here today?
Indeed, it was VPE in the first day, as we say, who had the top fragging power of Stoned in this entire lobby. But it is, as you say, if they can repeat history, E365 have been caught on the edge of the zone.
Oh, and I mean, this FPP is making it so challenging for the teams. You can see they've now just played all three FPP games, TPP games. Now coming into FPP, just throws a big spanner into the works. But of course, it is assessing the ability of these teams. And now, as we see Lucas now moving up right behind the players there from E365, he is looking to find those confirms, to find those points in for his team, as he is now the last remaining hopeful. Of course, now could potentially be rotating up towards Swips, but it doesn't seem to be the case, as they are now focusing on that position in the zone rather than trying to get the kills. And I think that is a good call, though.
ANGKOR as well in this game, and this is where we say, as you mentioned rightly, centralizing into this zone, being able to find a strong position inside, that is the most important thing for these teams right now. Even Orange still up in this game. Yes, they need a big play, but they do have their players alive, and they are holding on to control for now, although they have been split into different directions in order to do so, and they have at least allowed some of these squads onto the edge. But for now, not fully inside of the power grid compound itself, and that is the most important thing for Orange, to try control the compound as long as you hope that the compound stays with his zone. But Orange, they do lose one off the back.
Oh, and of course, BURIRAM moving up on the side. Velmoth coming up from the side, but we've seen also Velmoth being one of our MVPs. They're bringing in the top fragger points. And I'm curious to see now how that will develop, how that will go as they are moving up in towards this fifth phase. The zone centering up right there, smack dab in the middle, over in towards power grid. And this is going to be a really interesting fight coming in across the board, as we can see the teams now just looking to try and secure those positions, trying to secure those angles. And of course now Orange looking to do exactly that as they move on through, but Myth right there alongside them. Of course TAKAE looking to make a play on this eastern side as they have the players there, of course, from ANGKOR just up ahead of them, putting the shots in, causing quite a bit of damage.
And when you think about those shots in particular, when you think about the positioning getting into this zone here, DK, it is going to be so difficult for these teams on this eastern side. And as long as ANGKOR is alive at TAKAE, yes, they are going for the kills, because ANGKOR, they are only going to be belittled out of this game. Next to the blue zone, going to push them off into death. It will be TAKAE to continue their oppression in. They still keep one player inside, and this is what I like. They're using Crush as their off-angle player to keep them in hopes of this game. If it does go wrong, if something does fall down, and these are the types of heads-up plays that need to be happening when it comes to Phase 6, to not put all your eggs in one basket when there could easily be those third-party peaks. BURIRAM as well heading into that full squad, should I say. 4 members. The Myth as well need to defend as a duo. They've done well to survive, but now they have to fight.
Oh, I mean, and there we go. ANGKOR just getting in it, sent into the lobby. But now Myth, as you mentioned, you know, just positioned over on this western side. The blue zone is making its way on through, and this is where positioning is key. Absolutely essential, and the stronger position the teams can take occupation of, the better they can try to defend that. As we are now moving in to our final 3 teams, it of course is the players coming in, as we can see here from TAKAE. It is the player there from Orange being a Nin. And then, of course, we see the players coming in from Myth, just looking to find their way, looking to secure the compound. The final 5 remaining players down to the wire.
TAKAE, the highest on the kill board so far, 8 in total with the remaining teams. 5 on Myth, only 1 on Orange. Orange will need to clean up the rest of this lobby to really stand a chance inside that top 7. TAKAE, they're looking for at least a pitiful chicken dinner at the end of their 12 games. Unfortunately, yes, starting today with 0 points, but they have improved tenfold when it comes to these final 4 games. A completely different team they have transformed into. Still the Myth, though, they are still alive. They have the potential, more so than the rest of these teams, to be able to get inside of that top 7 position, get into the grand final, but they still need a win here. They still need every point that they can muster to be able to manage just that. Yes, they took down BURIRAM, but BURIRAM, they were caught on the edge of that blue zone. Much harder position here to take down TAKAE behind the wall, still inside the zone, just like Orange is also in protection with that warehouse.
Oh, this is such an interesting setup. I mean, Orange, as you mentioned, set up in the warehouse, waiting. Myth also just holding in the warehouse up in the cigar building there, waiting to see what is going to happen as we now wait for this blue zone to start closing on up. We've got about 40 seconds or so remaining on the clock, and things are only going to get tougher from here on forward. The teams are going to be forced to move forward. Not a lot of cover. They do have a few containers to make use of, but it's going to be such a trying rotation.
Orange is the core issue why the Myth cannot move forward into these containers, because they cannot use that cover as long as Orange can still shoot them out. That is why TAKAE along the other side, they're going to choose to still take on the opposite end of this to stop the Myth rotating in. And this is a smart place. This is a smart heads up positioning coming through. The smoke's now being entered up, though the grenades have already been used. And the Myth, they're making their final push. The blue zone phase 8 is closing in. Orange still alive, TAKAE still alive, Myth still alive. one of them will drop for his next phase, you do have to imagine.
Oh, here we go. All right, so Orange getting caught out in the edge of the blue zone, quickly trying to heal it up. TAKAE moving into that center position, looking to fortify it, looking to hold on. But of course, now Myth also looking to make their very own play as the blue zone has now forced them out. Of course, now Hades gets spotted out by Princess. Stepping up, picking up the first shot. TAKAE now feeling the pressure. Crash now looking to rush on through, looking to find the hurt, but of course, no. They get stopped in the tracks there as Myth swoop in with that chicken dinner to seal away the last match of the day.
From getting taken down 2 members at the start, you had to think that the Myth were all but out of this game, but they prove even with a bad start, you can have a fantastic finish, DK. They take the final chicken dinner. They give themselves the best opportunity possible to make it into that top 7 spot, to make it into the Thunder Cup Grand Finals with those 7 kills. Princess starting off that fight so clutch. Myth also with 8 EA coming as well at the end to take that final kill. But hands down, I feel that Princess were the most underrated players of this lobby and probably the start of this team, especially when it comes to today's matches, has been so impactful when it comes to positioning, has been so impactful when it comes to be able to start off these fights well.
Yeah. Really, really good performance that we had coming in. I mean, Princess holding their own. You know, it is quite a challenge to fight in that final phase, to fight in that final zone, but really good stuff coming out there, of course. And well done to TAKAE for that second position, finishing up on 9 kills, as well as Orange coming in 3rd place and only managing to bring in the 1 kill, but still a valiant effort. Of course, BURIRAM finishing off strong on 6 points. But now the question comes in is, was all of this good enough, strong enough of a performance for the teams to secure themselves a slot in that 7th position, in that top 7? That is where they want to be to move up into the next phase, to make it up in towards, of course, you know, what will be a very interesting play as they head into those grand finals.
Indeed, and I think what helps them out here is the fact that, like the Secret, the likes of these other teams, even Orange down there, of course, in that overall later position in 3rd. I think that Orange definitely needed to survive just a little bit more past TAKAE to help get those points in. Yes, they are able to pick up at least 11 points out of that game, but keep in mind they didn't have the best of games previously, where it's actually the Myth were also having some fairly decent games beforehand as well. Indian Tigers definitely out means that there is going to be a space open for those teams. It is just who is actually going to take that spot overall.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be quite interesting to see, of course, what the final results are, what the final standings are coming in at the end of this final match. And absolutely insane gameplays, a great show of aggression we had throughout this match. But of course, it has been an absolute blast to see these teams just going to town on each other, just stepping up, bringing that play in. Of course, what a phenomenal set of games. I gotta say, I mean, the Thunder Cup is looking just so hot.
Is looking stacked AF, DK, is what it is looking like, and I cannot wait to watch what the grand finals can bring, see exactly what these teams can bring to the table, because if it is anything like what we have seen from Group A, and even more so as we expect going into the next stage, it is going to be a spicy AF map.
Yeah, of course, it is going to be absolutely insane. But of course, well, we need to see who will be moving in. Just looking at what we saw coming into today, it has been such a close game all the way through. These 4 matches has just been absolutely insane. But I mean, like, definitely knowing who made it through is going to be the one to see. That is the question, all right? So I'm pretty sure that, of course, the results will be posted up on towards social media. We're just double checking whether or not we're going to be showing it on the stream itself if it is ready. Of course, if it is, we'll be doing that. Otherwise, the results will be out on social media. But of course, now, Wolf, I have the question, right? What is your takeaway coming in off the back of this? Just looking at the performance, the level of skill we've been seeing already so far in the Thunder Cup.
So straight up for me, I think level of performance, the team that really sticks out for me, I think would be BURIRAM overall. I think they are the most scary team out of this league so far. I do think that the Myth definitely are stepping up, but I think also alongside the step down from ITBF and also VPE, you can also see that this game definitely 21 Esports, that other team that I would also be very scared of. Yes, they also got taken down by TAKAE, but TAKAE have been on fire all day today. Whatever you want to say about their previous 2 days, they have definitely changed it around. In 21 Esports, you cannot negate the fact that they had a third place finish in the first game with 2 kills. The second game, they finished in third with 5 kills, and they were able to top that even more with a chicken dinner in that previous Erangel game with 17 kill points.
That was really, really impressive stuff. But of course, you know, we look forward to see what those grand finals will look like. But also, we have the players still needing to fight it out for Group B. So it is not over just yet. Of course, quite a bit of excitement still up ahead. But of course, that is going to bring us to the end of the broadcast here for today. We just got confirmation that the results will in fact be posted up on towards social media. They are not out just yet. But of course, you need to sit and keep a very watchful eye on the social media to see exactly when it comes out. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise. You know, we got to keep things interesting. We got to keep things exciting to see what the results are going to be. So be sure to go have a look on that. Of course, the Instagram tag right there on screen, as you can see. So be sure to head on over towards the Esports Empire Instagram, have a look and see which teams have made it through as soon as they post it up there. But there we go, that will bring us to the end for the broadcast here today. Big shout out to the teams, absolutely phenomenal stuff. Of course, a big shout out going out to all the viewers. Thank you so much for joining on in and bringing us, well, helping us be part of a very exciting match. Of course, big thank you also going out to Esports Empire for making the Thunder Cup possible. Quite a bit of insanity coming in, and of course, looking forward to seeing what will happen in the coming games. But there we go. That is going to be a wrap for us. And of course, also, thank you, Highland Wolf. Absolutely phenomenal stuff casting with you once again.